Vanderbilt is seriously trying to build their brand. They are serious about investing in athletics, and I absolutely love it. Here we go.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy part of your day. And speaking of everydayers, shout out to you. You make everything that is happening happen. You make this show what it is. Now, Diego Pavia said in his interview on Bussin' with the Boys that Vanderbilt will run the state of Tennessee very soon. Well, apparently the admin is all in, including AD Candace Story-Lee. It's really been a good year for athletics, and they're looking to capitalize on that. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Diego Pavia mentioned Game 3 is the one he's circling. That's a battle with LeNorris Sellers and the South Carolina Gamecocks at Williams-Brice at night. He also mentioned that they'll beat Bama again as well, and super confident that they will win and win big. So thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And speaking of, this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. You think Diego Pavia uses Monarch Money? When he got his $150,000 from Vanderbilt last year, when he was talking about all his NIL stuff, I'm wondering it'd be a good deal with all his investments. He should really check out Monarch Money there. So anyway, speaking of investing, a day after Diego Pavia said Vanderbilt was going to run the state of Tennessee on Bussin' with the Boys, he created quite the shockwaves. Well, an Associated Press article came out about Vanderbilt's investment into their future, and this got me kind of fired up. There was a couple of quotes in here that I'm like, okay, yes, we at least sound like a legitimate SEC program. I don't know if we're going to execute that, but we absolutely sound like we are. So when I was reading the article, I was like, okay, they're outlining all the projects, and they still got a ways to go. But this athlete village is going to be awesome. They shut down, I think it was Jess Neely Drive, right there between the McGugin Center and the stadium and Hawkins Field. That cut between, I forget all the roads. They all kind of run together, but This is exciting, and this is something that we've been waiting for, or Vanderbilt fans have been waiting for a long time, because the admin has just been, I think there was a point in time where they disbanded the athletics department completely and just said, hey, we're just going to lump athletics into some other department and we'll just kind of run it. Whatever we do is whatever we do. No worries. We're just going to, whatever happens, right? And my camera keeps going out. But this is the quote that I think is going to lead to a lot of great things. Okay. In this article, and you can read it on the Associated Press website, Candace Story-Lee said, quote, "This is the SEC. All right. You have to invest at a high level." And I pulled this quote from the Associated Press. So it is a huge deal that she said that. And I think when you recognize that it's the SEC, you have to invest. You have to invest at a high level. So you have to compete with the big dogs. And I think that Vanderbilt, being able to do so, they have the resources. The resources are there if they want to tap into it. NIL potential is there. I've talked about that dozens of times. The investment within the university, the facilities, everything that could stand an upgrade is getting that. The stadium upgrade is almost complete. The McGugin Center's on deck. Hawkins Stadium's on deck. There's going to be some really good stuff happening with athletics, and this has honestly been a good year for athletics. And this is something that you look for and say, okay, well, there's like, we're about to go into the house settlement era, I guess, for lack of better words, the revenue sharing era, I guess you could call it, where athletes are going to start getting paid. There's going to be start to be free reign of who gets scholarships. And, I think funding for the university is going to, I think athletics and university admin stuff is going to finally join hand to hand. And the investment is there. And so football team made a bowl game for the first time in, I think, a decade. The basketball team, I think, first time in 8 seasons made postseason play. The NCAA tournament, the women, they made another tournament run. Women's soccer, they upset Florida State in the second round. They made a Sweet 16 appearance in the women's soccer bracket, first time ever. Alabama went down at the hands of Vanderbilt football, the first time in program history that the Commodores have taken down the nation's top-ranked team. Also, Mark Byington, they made the tournament. Shea Ralph made the tournament. The Vandy boys, they won the SEC. Didn't do much after that, unfortunately, but they won a bowling championship for the 19 consecutive season, or the longest postseason streak, I should say. They made the bowling NCAA tournament. I don't know if they won it or not. I may have misspoke there, but it just, everything is happening and happening fast, and everything's improving for athletics and for everything. And so I'm very curious to see how they're going to split up the 100%, if they're going to go with the proposed 75, 15, 5, and 5 that's emerged as a popular revenue sharing plan with the House settlement. Obviously, the 75% going to football, and then the other 25% being split up amongst the other sports with a heavy hand on basketball, and then the rest kind of getting like the final 10%. They may shift those numbers around. It'd probably behoove them to make sure baseball is well taken care of, because they're a team that's highly successful, 2 national championships, probably one of the most successful programs on campus. Obviously they want to, football is the front porch, so they have to invest in that, and I think they are. The NIL stuff, the guys that you're getting out of the portal have drastically improved. The roster has shifted completely. The stadium renovation, it's the biggest one in 40 years. And it's all coming together. Clark Lee has figured some things out. He's building his staff the way he wants. Athletics is getting, their own kind of cafeteria or training. They call it a training table. And there's a lot of things happening right now. Basketball opened up the Huber Center this past season, the nicest in the country. It was highlighted on YouTube. The practice court that they once used is now going to be the volleyball stadium. There's going to be space that can be used for baseball in the South End Zone project. There's going to be, like I said, a training table that will be open to all athletes. And then there's some other things that are going to happen as things kind of get going. But this is, again, I think people are starting to realize, and this is what makes me believe that they're serious about, all these projects lead me to believe they're not only serious about football, but they're serious about athletics. And that should fire you up as a fan. It should be known that, football is improving. We see it before our own eyes. Football is improving. Baseball, they won the SEC tournament this year. They improved off of last year. Basketball made a complete 180 from an abysmal 23-24 season to have a NCAA tournament berth for the 24-25 season under first-year head coach Mark Byington. So that program has been a huge success, and they've made adjustments. And the Huber Center is a big factor in the facilities part of the pitch. So it's going to be and it's going to be a fun ride in this new era of college athletics. I think Vanderbilt took what really gets me on this, right? And I say gets me in a positive way. What really catches my eye on this is that the world of college athletics allowed teams to have a reset, allowed everybody to reset how they do things. And Vanderbilt took full advantage of that. Vanderbilt said, you know what? Hey, everything's resetting. We're going to get on the forefront of this. We're actually going to participate in NIL. We're going to participate in transfer portal. We're going to try to get the best that we can get, and we're going to try to improve that year in and year out. I really love that they showed patience with Clark Lee. I think as he was trying to figure things out, it's difficult in and of itself to figure out how to be a head coach in Division I college football, much less the SEC, much less the dumpster fire that he took over back after the 2020 season when he came in 21 to a disaster of a program that was left behind and ravaged by COVID. So it's he's come a long way. He's figured a lot of things out. He's hired all the right people. And I know there's some detractors out there that are going to find any way to disparage what Vanderbilt has done is, it's just a fluke. Oh, he's only good because he hired Jerry Kill. Oh, he's only good because of Diego Pavia. Well, who do you think found all these guys? Yeah, Clark Lee. Who do you think built all the relationships? Clark Lee. Who do you think has the respect in the coaching community as being a quality coach? Just haven't had a chance to put it all together yet as a head coach. Clark Lee. So it's not a fluke, and people say it's an investment into his learning. It's an investment into his program, and he felt Jerry Kill, Tim Beck, the staff that he built around himself was a worthy investment. And it's coming true. He's trusted his gut here. He's hired great people around him, and that's the key to all this thing. You have to hire great people, and then the administration has to have your back, which they do. They're renovating stuff. They're giving him staff needs. They're giving. Vanderbilt is starting to get the SEC treatment, and as money and revenue increase conference wide, Vanderbilt's only going to benefit from that. And if Vandy athletics and the admin and the school admin from the chancellor on down are behind athletics being good, and the notion that athletics being good is good for the university, they're going to thrive because they have the resources. There is wealth upon wealth upon wealth at Vanderbilt that if invested back into the university, not only will it become a great university academically, and even better academically, it will be a great and even better university athletically. And the two things can merge. It's possible. Other schools have done it. Duke has an elite basketball program. They're an elite academic institution. Miami was an elite academic institution when they discovered football, right? When they discovered that, hey, we could be good at football and still be good at college, they figured it out. And Stanford, USC, Northwestern is pretty, they're not great in football. They've had some good runs, but they're good in other sports. I think Michigan's a quality institution. North Carolina, University of Georgia, all the institutions in the SEC would be considered great universities and great institutions. They're all great in athletics, and they all kind of marry the same, they all kind of have the same kind of path. So Vanderbilt is finally investing, and I like to see that. And it's going to pay dividends down the stretch. I think the main thing is this, and I'm going to talk about this next. Diego Pavia has ignited something within this administration, and it is absolutely incredible. He has been the spokesperson, the loudspeaker, the megaphone, however you want to describe it. He has been that for this university since he stepped foot on campus. He had a lot to say, a lot of great things to say. Some things you're probably like, but it all comes with the territory. Diego Pavia has said a lot of things. We're going to continue to talk about and break down a lot of the things that he said. We're going to do that next. Hey, do you ever look at your bank account and try to figure out where all your money went? I know it's a confusing feeling like, geez, I spent how much on takeout? I did what? I spent how much on going to a baseball game? Wow, this is crazy. So Monarch Money gives you a chance to keep everything on track, right? It's your personal CFO. It gives you full visibility and control over your finances. That's Monarch Money. Isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you just stop managing your money and you can start building this thing called wealth, right? So when I started using Monarch Money, I'm a huge takeout person when it comes to lunch and dinner. I noticed I was spending a lot on that. Now I budget smarter, and I'm like, okay, I gotta set some goals here. And instead of going from one app to the other to the other to the other, man, you just pop on Monarch Money and it's all there, right? And then when you're talking to your partner, it makes that smooth too. Whether it's your wife or your husband or whoever you're talking to, could be your business partner. Who knows? Whoever you're talking to, it makes it less stressful because you can see everything. Shared accounts, personal accounts. You can set goals. You can all that without all the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. It's right here at the bottom of the screen. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. Like I said, we're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you need a second listen after you're done here, check out Locked On SEC with Chris Gordy, Locked On Ole Miss with Stephen Willis. They provide great insight into the world of college football and specifically Ole Miss and Steve Willis' state case. Great stuff there. Chris Gordy does a phenomenal job, and he leads our squad shows every week too. And you should check out everybody on the SEC network. Really, on the SEC side of things, it's gonna get kind of crazy with the Big Ten network and the SEC network. Not only on the national level, but within the Locked On family, it's going to be it's going to be a pretty good rivalry between the two factions, you should say. So that's going to get fun. Thanks to Diego Pavia, but it was already kind of tense. But now with Diego Pavia, it probably gets a little bit more tense. So he said quite a few things, and I think he's kind of ignited some things, and I think Clark Lee finally, I think he finally is to a point where he feels comfortable enough. And I didn't even show you this quote from Clark Lee before we continue. We'll see all the opportunity we have right now. And I think for those of us that have been in this really, certainly for me being in year 5, I'm so excited to feel like I have something at stake, to feel like chips are on the table, right? And what he's talking about is this, okay? He said that prior to this, the stakes haven't really been there. The investment really hasn't been there. And for the first time in his career, in his tenure, really, as a head coach of Vanderbilt, he's felt like the university is finally pushing all their chips to the middle of the table. They're finally going all in, right? And they haven't done that. But they've been slowly and steadily waking up, little by little. But I think with all this reset and all this house settlement stuff, this revenue sharing stuff, the fact that some of these other programs are starting to kind of take off a little bit, like they hit a home run with Mark Byington. Shea Ralph has done a great job with the women's basketball team. Tim Corbin obviously speaks for himself with 2 national championships. Clark Lee finally made a bowl game, finally had a successful season, making a historic having a historic victory over Alabama for the first time in program history, knocking off a number 1 team. Just all the things that athletics have accomplished over the course of this calendar year. It's kind of a great launching point for what this athletics program can do if they invest well enough. So I'm very excited about that. And I think NIL is going to soon to be followed, because I think there's a lot of momentum here with Vanderbilt athletics, which seems kind of crazy to say because you don't usually associate positive momentum with Vanderbilt athletics, but here we are, right? It's a new era in college football, and Vanderbilt decided that they want to be part of it, right? So, but moving on to a little bit more specific things as far as that goes. Diego Pavia, in his interview, he said, look, man, I am really circling this game. I'm very confident in this game. I have this battle circled right here. It's game 3. He calls it game 3. Vanderbilt at South Carolina, 6 o'clock or 6:45 p.m. Central Time, and that's either going to be on ESPN or SEC Network, depending on how the week shakes out. It's going to be one of those flex games, but this is going to be quite the quarterback battle, right? And Chris Marler of Locked On Gamecocks and at Vern Dumquist on X put out his rankings as the quarterback. LeNorris Sellers is number 1. Diego Pavia is number 3. So you have two of the best in the conference going up against each other. LeNorris Sellers, I think, in just kind of a snapshot evaluation of him, one of the things I want to see him be more consistent at is a passer, and especially a downfield passer. But Chris obviously deep dove into LeNorris Sellers because he's Locked On Gamecocks. So naturally he would do that. And naturally I probably wouldn't pay as much attention to LeNorris Sellers as I normally would Diego Pavia for obvious reasons. I don't cover South Carolina, and Chris Marler probably doesn't cover Vanderbilt. So we, I know more about Pavia than he does probably, and he knows more about Sellers than I do probably. So my gut instinct is this. I think for LeNorris Sellers, I think he's just got to now prove week in and week out that he is that number 1 guy. I think there's still a little bit of me, and we talked about this on the squad show that's going to come out tomorrow, but part of me is still under the understanding that there's still a little bit left to be shown with LeNorris Sellers. And I know that sounds crazy because he showed a lot in his final stretch. 17-4 touchdown to interception ratio, 70% passing. I think they played 4 ranked opponents. But what troubles me is this, and I think where Vanderbilt has a chance here is that early on in the season, South Carolina is just, as a program, year in and year out, it's a strange thing, but they're just not. They're one of those teams where it's like they're vastly different weeks 1, 2, and 3 than they are at the end of the season, right? They're a team that no matter what, that's your best chance to get them is early, because if you wait and play them late, they're usually on a heater at that point. So your best chance of South Carolina is early, because for some reason it just takes them a minute to get going. I'm not sure why, but it just does. And so this is an intriguing matchup for a lot of reasons. And I think when you look at it, you got Dylan Stewart over there on defense. Like, you've got a lot of playmakers for South Carolina. And I think you've got LeNorris Sellers, who's coming into year 2. And I don't think I ever finished my thought on what I feel like he needs to prove, because a lot of people are giving him number 1 quarterback in the SEC props, right? So I think he needs to prove that he is that guy. And there's some intangible things, there's some non-quantifiable things that help show that, like poise, like the – like you get the ball in the fourth quarter and it's like, okay, he is going to lead us to victory, right? Some of the things that Diego Pavia had, and I think if Diego Pavia stayed fully healthy last year, I think, we might have had a different outcome in those last few games, but that's part of the game. So it's not really an excuse, but I think his, Diego Pavia's ability to finish a game, kind of that clutch gene, kind of that leadership gene. Like, I want LeNorris Sellers to show it. I believe he has it. I just want him to show it for me to believe that he's the number 1 quarterback in the country. This will be the first opportunity for him to really show it. I mean, they played Virginia Tech first game of the year, but this will be his first real big opportunity to show it. And I'm gonna continue this, and I'm gonna tell you kind of what this matchup kind of looks like and what it kind of means and why it's probably circled. I'll be right back. Man, as the great Yogi Berra said, it got late early. So, like I said, we're wrapping up here. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. If you're still around, I appreciate you. But we're talking about Game 3, as Diego Pavia said in his interview on Bussin' with the Boys. He's very confident. He's very confident that he can beat Bama twice. He thinks we got the squad to do so. He thinks that, it's a 10-win season for Vanderbilt. That's what he says in his mind. And so I think he honestly, I know he truly believes that, and that'll trickle through the team, which I'm very, very excited about. But I think the biggest reason why, coming back to South Carolina, I think the biggest reason why this game was circled on his calendar, like that was the game. This is the game that he wanted, because this guy pictured on the right, LeNorris Sellers, I think he has a chip on his shoulder about Sellers being ranked ahead of him. He feels like he accomplished more than LeNorris Sellers did. I think as a team, this was the team that beat Vanderbilt the worst. They beat them 28-7. After the first quarter, it was really not competitive. The roster, I think, had dwindled down. It was wet, cold. Everyone was beat up. Everyone was looking forward to the bye and the final stretch run of the season. I just think it was it was just a tough matchup to begin with. And then like the weight of the 16-game losing streak kind of bear down on them first time something went wrong. They couldn't handle Kennard and Dylan Stewart and that defensive line. There was a lot of things they couldn't do. And I think Diego Pavia knows that, I think if things are different, they could have won that game. And so this is the one they circled because, hey, South Carolina could have been a playoff team last year. Should have been probably a playoff team last year. I think a screwed up call against LSU probably puts them in the playoffs. And I think Diego Pavia knows that he could have gotten one, and he wants this one because this is the best quarterback in the conference in a lot of people's minds, and he wants to prove that wrong. He has a little bit of that, chip on your shoulder, everything's a slight type of mentality, and he would be the one to have a LeBradford Smith moment. And if you know that reference, you probably watched The Last Dance. But he made up some quote that LeBradford Smith said when they were playing against the Washington Bullets, and he just went off. Because he's probably bored his doldrums of the season, and he probably just needed to make up something to get him going. And I think Diego Pavia, I don't think needs that really, but I think he's still that way anyway. But I think he takes that. Okay, LeNorris Sellers is number one. Don't believe it. I'm going to go out and prove that wrong. This team is a playoff team. None under my watch. We're going to go out there and beat them. I'm going to show you that Vanderbilt is for real. And if you want to show that, you go to Williams-Brice at night and you win that game. I think a lot of people will be paying attention to you. It's great. You beat Bama at home when they weren't really that concerned with you. And then by the time they were, it was too late. Not to take anything away from that victory, but I think if you get a team that's widely considered a sleeper dark horse for the playoff, and you get a chance to go into their house at night when they have a stadium that's notoriously difficult to play in. And everyone I've ever talked to that's played in Williams-Brice Stadium, they say that is the most hostile road environment that they've ever played in, right? And I talked to a friend of mine, Israel Troop. He said, because he played at LSU too, and he said that LSU, they were harsh, but South Carolina, they're like right there. It's brutally hot. They're screaming at you the whole time. They're talking all kinds of trash. It's a nightmare environment for a road team. Like, it is not shocking that road teams get rattled pretty easily in that stadium. So there's a 16-game losing streak now. It was 15, now it's 16. And in order to avoid 17, they have to get this win. And I think you have to find a way to get past that, the weight of that. I think you're going to have a great tune-up hostile road environment game against Virginia Tech the week before. So that's good. But I think this game gives Vanderbilt the most to prove because it's the first conference game. It's against the best quarterback in the conference. It's against the best defensive player in the conference in Dylan Stewart. And it's against a team that everyone is saying should have been in the playoff last year, has a dark horse chance of getting in this year as an at-large bid. So this would be the game that, if I'm Vandy, because it's the first conference game, and for all those reasons I listed, that would be the game that I circled. And so this is, you want to talk about building a brand to bring it back full circle. This would be the stamp on your brand. You end this streak, you beat the best. You beat the best in the conference at the quarterback position. You outduel them on their turf. It's a big deal. You win this game, it's a big freaking deal. Not as big of a deal as knocking off a number one, but it is a big deal to win in that building, Williams-Brice Stadium. And when you haven't beat this team at all in the last 16 seasons, it's a big freaking deal. So I think that shouldn't be taken lightly, and I think that's the reason why he's got this game circled, because I think everyone in the world would have thought he said Bama. He would have said Bama. Hey, we're going to go get 2 against Bama, or Tennessee. Like, hey, it's the in-state rival. You got to go get Tennessee. And I think he has those games circled too, but I think the one he's most excited about is what he called Game 3. So I'm looking forward to it. You should too. But that's not to lose sight of Charleston Southern or Virginia Tech. But you're going against the best quarterback in the conference. So here you go. All right, but you got to get it done. You got to have a good plan. And I think this is all part of building the brand of Vanderbilt football, trying to make them the staple of the state of Tennessee, just like the state capital is. And so you got to invest in that. You got to give the fans, you got to give the people of Nashville something to say, something to give them pause and something to say. And I'll leave you with this. Vanderbilt has a chance to capture Nashville. And when I say capture Nashville, they're not going to capture all of Nashville, but they're going to capture enough to really get people's attention and really get people to start taking them seriously. Like, they have a chance to do that. And, it'll start with South Carolina. That's the first real name brand team they play this year. So if they can go out and win that game, I think Nashville will say, okay, there's a team that in our city that needs to be supported. Why not support them? So that's that. That's all the fun we have. We're going to come back here next time. We're going to get you ready for the weekend. It is the summer, so be sure to check us out at Locked On Vandy on the Locked On Podcast Network. If you like what you hear, subscribe, check out the other episodes from this week. It's been a very Diego Pavia-centric week, all things considered. But until next time, anchor down. Peace out.